This is the video and illustration for accommodating with families. So what you'll learn from this is the result of what too much accommodating does and what ends up happening. So let's watch the illustration and I'll be back in a second. Oftentimes when I work with members of a family, I often hear a lot of accommodating going on. What do I mean by that? A lot of unspoken thoughts are happening, which ends up creating anger among family members, which then ends up creating resentment. Because remember those boundaries, those wonky, squiggly line boundaries of love, trust, respect? The family members are accommodating one another based in love, trust, respect. Eventually, if they create enough anger and resentment, they will create contempt for one another. Eventually, they will create separation and emotional cutoff. This is where like an adult child might move clear across the country to get away from family. The problem with emotional cutoff is that's not healthy differentiation, but that's another video. So what I end up having to do is I end up encouraging my client to sit down and have an honest conversation with their family member, because what they've been doing with all this accommodating is very inauthentic. And so because they're inauthentic, they're not being honest. So I, again, encourage them to have an honest conversation with their family members or member. And then that brings them back into authenticity based in, what do I preach? Respect, trust, love. And they end up, by being honest with their family members, they end up having a more authentic relationship with their family members. And resentments are not built, contempt does not happen, separation does not occur, emotional cutoff does not happen. Enough said. So what did you think about that? Yeah, some people will move 3,000 miles away to get away from their families, but those family strings are still attached because there's an emotional attachment. Yes, you moved physically 3,000 miles away, or you moved around the world or wherever, but that emotional attachment still exists. So what's the goal? The goal is to have respect, trust, love for, remember these, for self first, and then your family, and be able to sit down and have some honest conversations with them about what bothers you. What bothers you, okay? Now, are there those families that you just can't, like you would have that conversation and be like just, going over their head? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So you have to get to a point where if you can't have that conversation with them, and I would suggest a conversation, not a text, okay, because there's no emotionality in texting. If you can't have that conversation with them, then it's important for you to accept them for being human and realize that those squiggly lined boundaries that we all learned from our families of origin, they learned from their families, and those grandparents learned it from those great-great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents, and it all kind of rolls downhill, okay? So by accepting their humanness and accepting that they're flawed, you can accept your own humanness and you can accept your own flaws. Okay, enough said. Bye now.